Good morning. I can't be in class today. I have to administer an advanced placement exam this morning, so I want to give you a start on the assignments that you're going to do. First of all, let's look at the solving two steps inequalities. We have done problems like this in the past. It's been a while. Oops, today's going to be the 5th when you see this. I'm going to work out just a few, and then you're going to have the remainder to do. For the inequalities, we solve our inequalities exactly like we would if we were solving an equation in terms of a process of undoing. And so with this inequality, the very first thing that I want to undo is the plus 2, and I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides to do that. And I'm going to wind up with n over 3 is greater than negative 2. And then to finish this problem, I would multiply both sides by 3. To undo the division by 3. So n is greater than negative 6. Now remember, if it's strictly greater than, we need to put an open circle instead of closed. And n can be values greater than, so I'm going to shade everything to the right. That should help you. Same kind of process with number 2. It looks very similar. Number 3 as well. When you look at number 5, I know these were kind of tricky for some people when we were working on them initially. In number 5, the first thing that you want to do, and I'm actually going to do this math right up next to the problem, is multiply both sides by 9 to get the divide by 9 out of the denominator. And I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to wind up with 1 plus m is greater than or equal to 9 now. Undo the adding 1 by subtracting 1. M is greater than or equal to 8. Close circle on 8 with our arrow going to the right. Number 5 is another problem I want to look at, because in number 5 there's a rule about solving inequalities that comes up that can give us some trouble. I'm going to actually rewrite this problem underneath. 2r minus 2 is less than or equal to 4. I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. I think I said 2r. Negative 2r is less than or equal to 6. Now remember, there's a rule in inequalities. If I multiply or divide by a negative number in the last step, it forces me to have to change the direction of the inequality. So when I divide this, I'm going to have r is greater than or equal to negative 3. The sign switched. Greater than is going to give me a closed circle on the negative 3, and everything to the right will be shaded. Remember, in problems like 7 or 8, you want to undo your 3 first and then multiply by 9 to get that out of the denominator in your fraction with your variable. Number 8, you'd subtract 9 and then multiply by 2 to get to your solution there. I'm going to pull a couple on the back side. Yeah, why don't I go down to number 15? Number 15 on the back. In number 15, it's kind of similar to the ones that I was looking at the front. I'm going to actually recopy it so I don't run out of room. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. I'm going to wind up with 1 is less than or equal to p over 20. Like I was talking about with the other problems, to undo divide by 20, I'm going to multiply by 20. And I'm going to wind up with 20 is less than or equal to p. Now, I like to write mine in the other direction. The mouth of the inequality is open to the p. I'm going to write it that way because it reads p is greater than or equal to 20. And that gives me a better sense when I read it in this direction with the variable on the left. I get a better idea about how I'm going to graph my inequality. You can come back to this video on your own if you don't finish this during class and spend some more time looking at the examples. I'm going to give you some direction on the other assignments you're going to do today, writing and solving systems of equations. Now, we've been focusing on just the solving of our systems, and we're going to now take our skills in solving and apply them to the equations that we write. Now, the directions for this is to solve each problem, and while we're doing that, it wants us to identify the variables for each situation, write the system, and then show the work in solving. In number 1, it reads the Browns scored 13 more points than the Saints. The totals of their scores was 47. How many points did each team score? Well, I'm dealing with the Browns and the Saints, so I'm going to identify my variable, and I'm going to say B for Browns and S for Saints. We went through some examples in class on Friday of writing systems in situations like this. I want you to get those out too when you start working so you can use those as reference. What I know when I read is that the Browns scored 13 more problems than the Saints. more points than the Saints. So what I can do is take the Saints score, add 13 to it, and that's equal to the Browns score. The Browns scored 13 more than the Saints did. The total of their two scores was 47. So Browns plus Saints equals 47. In this problem, I would actually use substitution to solve. I'd go and replace this B in the second equation with our S plus 13 quantity. Go ahead and do that on your own once this video gets done, because I want you to focus more on the writing of the equations right now. I'm going to go on to 3. Sarah's the director of the Huna marching band. She must order 35 new uniforms for the band. There are usually 5 more girls than twice the number of boys in the band, and how many uniforms of each type should she order for the band? Well, she's talking about having to order girls and boys' uniforms. So I'm going to define the variable as G for girls, B for boys. We've read that there are usually 5 more girls than twice the number of boys. So if I take twice the number of boys and add 5 to it, that's going to give me the girls. She says that she has to order 35 new uniforms. So the combination of the boys and the girls' uniforms that she's got to get is equal to 35. Find one of your methods of solving to substitution, elimination, or graphing in order to solve that. Again, take out the problems that we went through and wrote the equations together for on Friday, so you can use that to help you. And be sure to look at the back. There are 10 problems to write equations for. What you don't finish in terms of attempts on both of these assignments will be homework. Take care of it during class if you can. Whatever is not turned in today needs to be turned in when you walk into class on Tuesday. Have a great hour. Be respectful.